Let's start the chapter. Okay, this chapter will talk about leadership, power, and influence. Our objectives here is to know how to use the power and politics to help accomplish important organizational goals. We're also going to look at the practice aspects of charismatic leadership by pursuing a vision or idea that you care deeply about and want to share with others. Also, we're going to apply the concept that distinguish transformational and transactional leadership. We would know how to use the coalitional leadership to build alliance that can help you achieve important goals for the organization. We'll call open the characteristic of Machiavellian style leadership when tough action are needed to benefit the organization in difficult time. We'll explain the difference between soft power and hard power and identify specific types of power in organizations. Furthermore, we'll describe the structural, human resource, political, and symbolic frames of reference and identify your dominant leadership frame. We need to know how to increase the power through political activity and use the influence tactics of appealing to a higher vision, rational persuasion, friendliness, reciprocities, and developing alliance and direct persuasion. So, kind of influential leadership. You have what you call a transformational, you have a transactional, there is a charismatic and coalition. Now, transformational and transactional leadership. The transformational leadership is type of leadership that characterized by the ability to bring about significant change in followers and the organization. In the transactional leadership is about transaction or exchange the power between leaders and followers. You do this, I'll do that for you. In the transactional leadership is where you recognize followers' need and desire. Clarify how the need and desire will be satisfied in exchange for a meeting specified objective or performing duties. Focus on the present and maintains stabilities with the organization is good at traditional management function. So when you have a traditional management function, it's good to have some kind of a transactional leadership. In the transformational leadership, paints a grand of vision of a desired future and communicated in a way that makes the pain of change worth the effort. Inspire the followers to go beyond their own self-interest for the good of the group. elevate the concerns of followers from lower level physical needs to higher level physical needs, and develop the followers into leaders. That's kind of the sound like a religion leadership. Then you have what you call a charismatic leader. Leaders who have the ability to inspire and motivate people to do more than they would normally do, despite the obstacles and personal sacrifice. In the charismatic leader, instills both awe and submission in the followers. So they have a kind of submissive, and they will follow without needing for them. Can lift the entire organization's level of energy and performance. The charisma, well, cannot be learned, but the aspect can be used by anyone. So you look at the different aspects and can be practiced and used. And it comes from the activity you have a passion for, engage emotions in everyday work life. The distinguished characteristics of charismatic and non-charismatic leaders, we'll look at this like we will look at the likabilities, relation to status quo, future goals, articulation, behavior, and influence. The non-charismatic leaders versus the charismatic leader. Now, in the coalitional leadership that involves developing allies and building a coalition of people who support the leader's goal and can help influencing others to implement the leader's decision and achieve the goal. Just like Margaret Thatcher during the war, Margaret Thatcher. She was the coalitional leader, not George Bush, and not, the senior George Bush. Now, they observe and understand the pattern of interaction and influence in the organization. They develop connection with a broad network of people. Leaders usually adapt their behavior and approach to diverse people and situations. Failing to build a coalition can allow the conflict to derail the leader's decisions. There is steps for effective coalitional leadership. Do a lot of interviews. Visit customers and other stakeholders. Develop a map of stakeholders buy-in and break down barriers and promote cross-soil cooperation. That's what's happening in the US elections also. Now we can look at this and mapping the stakeholders buy-in. We'll look at that and explain it more. Machiavellian style leadership. He indicates that leaders is willing to use any means necessary to preserve and protect the well-being of the organization. In other words, all the roads get you to Roma. Leaders use bare knuckle strategies to attain a clout needed to accomplish the great things. Always on guard for a risk and threats to their power, don't mind being feared, use deception if necessary, use reward and punishment to shape behaviors. But what's in a leadership is some kind of a power. And what's a power? Power is potentially ability of one person to influence other people to bring about the desired outcome. There is two types, hard power and soft power. The hard power is power that stems largely from personal position authority. The soft power is a power that is based on a personal characteristics and interpersonal relationships. Influence. So we know the power is for influencing. So what's an influence? Is the effect a person action have on the attitude, values, beliefs, or actions of others. So the five types of leaders' power, we said expert, referent, legitimate, reward, and coercive. And we said it's two kinds, that there is a hard power and a soft power. We'll explain that here. Looks pretty nice here. Now, when you have a power, what's the responses to the use of power? You might have a compliance, following the direction of the person with the power, regardless of how much agreement there is with that person's direction. You might have resistance, act of disobeying orders or deliberately avoid carrying out instruction. Commitment, adopting the leader's point of view and be enthusiastic in carrying out the instructions. So we said there is a three kind: compliance, resistant, and commitment. And the commitment comes mostly from soft power, and the other two comes from compliance. The delivered result is as a compliance, or you will have a resistance. We'll explain that. Politics. Politics is activities to acquire, develop, and use power and other resources to obtain desired future outcome. When there is uncertainty or disagreement about choices, economic policies driven from personal policies or labor policies or the party policies. Frame, a perspective from which a leader views the world, how he looks at it. Influence, how the leader interacts with the followers, makes decision, and exercise power. That's how he looks at the world. Now we look at the four leader frames of references. There is a structural, there is a human resource, there is a political, and there is symbolic, and we will be explaining those four frames. Now there is 6 principles for asserting leader influence. How a leader can assert its influence. Use a rational persuasion. Help people to like you or like their leader. Rely on the rule of reciprocity. Develop alliance. Ask for what you want. Appeal to a vision of higher purpose. These are the way you assert as a leader or your choices or your decisions. Now, we have what you call a personalized leaders versus socialized leaders. In a personalized leaders, the leaders are exercise the power for their own self-centered needs and interests, self-aggrandizing, non-egalitarian, and exploitative. In socialized leader, exercise the power for benefit of others. Probably that's what you need to know. One's exercise the power for its own, and that another exercise the power to benefit others and organization as whole. Empowering others, egalitarians, and very supportive. Now, the guideline for ethical action, and we will look through how you take an ethical action and what's the guideline in it. Thank you.